Are we ready to draw Mike? Alright, let's get started. What shape do you think we're starting with? Circle, of course. Mike was just like a square. Nah, we're starting with a circle, just a big circle for Mike. We're not drawing any of his limbs, so this can be as large as you'd like. So I'm going to draw mine maybe like an orange or a baseball, maybe even bigger here. And I'm just lightly building up on that circle, so that way I can get something I'm happy with. That's how you get a great sketch, giving yourself those options. Now, any character that you draw is going to use construction lines. I'm going to place a vertical line going right through the center of the circle, just splitting it in half. And then for Mike's eye line, this is going to rest about halfway through as well, but this one's going to be a horizontal line. So this should give you a plus sign in the center there. Now, for Mike's eye, of course, we know he's just got one eye. It's going to take up the top half of his face. And this is going to be a large circle, again, resting in the center there. So, however big you drew his head, that's how big you want to draw the eye, that top half there. One of the few features that extends outside of Mike's face is his eyebrow. Just above that eye, you're going to want to place in this tall rainbow or arch that extends outside of the circle, and then it curls back down. Now, I'm going to pause here. We've laid some groundwork. I'm going to go back and lock in what we've drawn so far. And if you're new to sketching and you're not familiar with that term, locking in just means you're going back now with darker line work, and you're cleaning up your sketch, you're finalizing it, and you're using those dark lines to bring forward all the features that you want to see in the final version of your drawing. You'll notice from my sketch that those dark lines are really, really noticeable. So make sure that you only lock in the good stuff. Anything that you're not a fan of, or maybe you made a mistake, leave those things light and they'll fade into the background as you go. At this point, I would say you're good to lock in everything we've drawn except for those construction lines. Those are just going to be there for your reference. But everything else, you're good to lock in. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this character and this film. Monsters, Inc. was one of the very first Pixar films, and because of that, it's one of the first computer animated films as well, because Pixar put computer animation on the map. This film features a lot of really talented voice actors, which make this film so great. Does anybody know who voices Mike Wazowski?
Billy Crystal.
Billy Crystal, right? If you didn't know this, Billy Crystal has actually been a favorite of Pixar's since Pixar formed, because they actually asked Billy Crystal to voice a character in their very first film. Does anybody know what the very first Pixar film was? Toy Story, yeah. And they actually wanted him to voice Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story, yeah. Though at the time, he was going by a different name. The character was going to be called Lunar Larry at first. And when they asked Billy Crystal, he actually turned down the role. Because keep in mind, back in 1994, which is probably when they asked him, Pixar was not an established brand. Toy Story wasn't a successful film franchise. So to him, it's just a movie about talking toys. He didn't know if that sounded very good. So he turned down the role. But as we all know, Pixar and Toy Story became this incredible thing. And so because of that, Billy Crystal actually said that turning down Buzz Lightyear was the greatest regret in his entire career. And because of that decision, he promised himself that the next time Pixar approached him, he would accept the role, which is, of course, how we get him as Mike Wazowski in Monsters, Inc. Which I don't know about you, but I think he's so much better fit for Mike Wazowski than Buzz Lightyear. So to me, it just speaks to sometimes things work out the way they're supposed to, right? Because he brings Mike Wazowski to life in this film. Now, I'm going back and I added in a pupil for him. Keep in mind that you can have Mike looking anywhere you like in your drawing. Just make sure when you go back to darken this in and shade it in, you want this to be the darkest feature on your page, because that's what's going to bring Mike to life. Now, in Monsters, Inc. and in Monsters University, we find out that Mike is not what? Scary, right? Yeah, he really wanted to be a scarer, but it just wasn't in the cards for him. He's not a scary monster. But we find out that he's actually really good at something else. Does anybody know what he's good at?
Being funny.
Making people laugh, being funny, being a comedian. And what's really great about these films is the character design really gives you that kind of clue right away. Because when you see Mike next to Sully, just looking at their horns, for example, Sully's horns are really large, intimidating, and kind of sharp in the shape, which makes him look like a more intimidating, scary monster. Whereas Mike's horns, I'm drawing them in now on each side of the eyebrow, they're shaped like candy corn, or like baby goat horns, right? they're not intimidating at all. They're really round and soft, kind of cute looking, which makes him look more silly, less scary, right? So it's really amazing how we can get that just by looking at that. Now, since he's a comedian, let's draw him with a big smile. That's his nature, to be a really like upbeat kind of character. I'm going to place in a large letter U-shaped smile underneath the eye. But when we draw characters, we don't usually leave it as a closed mouth. We'll like to give them an open mouth, so it makes it look like they're laughing, talking, maybe even singing. In fact, a lot of the really famous lines from this film were ad-libbed by Billy Crystal and the actor who played Sully. Does anybody know who it was?
John Goodman.
Yeah, John Goodman. The two of them actually asked Pixar to do something that's really uncommon, and they asked to record all their lines together in the sound booth, which doesn't sound that extreme, but what that really means is that the filmmakers had to work with both of them simultaneously, and they didn't have the ability to kind of just go through the same take over and over with each actor. They kind of had to let them just like banter with each other in the sound booth. And that's what these actors wanted to do. They thought they could have a much more comedic and compelling performance if they were together interacting with each other. So Pixar let them do it, and I think it really shows in this movie. These characters are such a dynamic duo. Once you have this crescent moon shape for his mouth, let's place in some little creases to the ends of his smile, little rainbows that show that his cheeks are being pushed up. Just adds a bit of cuteness here, but also it's a little bit more expressive as well. His teeth are another great example of him being kind of like, I mean, he is a monster, but he's not too scary. Because his teeth are jagged, but they're not sharp. I'm placing in these triangle-shaped teeth. I'm just gonna go across the smile there. The way that we like to describe them is like if you've ever used those craft scissors that give you that jagged edge on the paper, that's what you want for the teeth. That's how they look. But going back to the voice acting for just a moment, we established that John Goodman is the voice of Sully. But just like Buzz Lightyear turned down, or just like Billy Crystal turned down Buzz Lightyear, a different actor turned down Sully. Well, I guess the right way to say it is he never got back to Pixar, because the first choice for Sully was actually Bill Murray, but he never returned Pixar's calls apparently. So they went with John Goodman, which was their second choice. And again, I think he's the perfect fit for Sully. And John Goodman is no stranger to working on Disney films. In fact, he voiced another Disney character in The Emperor's New Groove. Does anybody know who he voiced there? Tasha. And he also voiced a character in The Princess and the Frog. Does anybody know which character it was there? I'll help you out. It's Charlotte's father in the film. I forget what's his name. Yeah, Daddy LaBeouf, right? And it's just funny to me because I feel like John Goodman gets typecasted as like the big softies, right? Like if it's like this character that's like a super big guy, but he's got this really like sweet heart of gold, they're like, yeah, John Goodman, we need him for this character. Because Sully is just one of those characters as well. I finished my drawing by shading in the inside of the mouth so that way the teeth read a little bit better. But that's all you need for Mike Wazowski. Feel free to go back and add in some extra credit, a background, you can draw Boo and Sully, have fun with it. Once you're done adding in your extra credit, the last step is always signing your name somewhere nice and proud, because you've drawn your very own Mike. All right.